What is going on, everyone? I am back with yet another video for you guys. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is the Crimson Carver. I am a Warframe content creator over on YouTube, and I'm a variety streamer over on Twitch. Now, in this video, we're going to be going over the Warframe Gara. Now, keep in mind, this is meant to be a beginner-friendly guide, right? So, we're going to be covering the basics, which ranges from covering where to get Gara, how to get them, their stats, their abilities, their augments, and the difference between Gara and Gara Prime. And at the very end, we're going to wrap it up with some Steelpath gameplay. Right? Now, I know Steelpath isn't exactly new player friendly, but it's meant to showcase what you can do with a very beginner friendly build, right? So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy and learn something new. And yeah, let's get into it. Right, so, Gara. How do I get Gara? Well, Gara, typically, you can get Gara from the Plains of Eidolon, right? So, um, you can get her main blueprint from doing the Sire's Vigil quest, right? But all the other subsequent blueprints for Gara can be obtained by doing the Plains of Eidolon, right? That means her neuroptics, her chassis, and her systems, they all come from the Plains of Eidolon bounties and sieges, right? Or, if you have the money for it, you can buy Gara from the market for 225 plat, right? Now, Gara comes with 270 health, 270 shield, 160 armor, 175 energy, and a base sprint speed of 1.15. Okay, but Kava, what if I don't have the plat to get Gara and I really don't want to farm out Gara? Well, you could always farm out Gara Prime, right? But the difference between Gara and Gara Prime, put simply, is this, right? Gara Prime has more health and more armor than regular Gara, right? So, I mean, it's entirely up to you if you choose to. So, yeah. Um, that's about the only real difference between the two. Okay, so I've got Gara Prime, but how in the hell does she work? Well, let me explain, right? So, Gara. Her passive, essentially, whenever you cast an ability, you have a chance to blind enemies for about 10 seconds whenever you cast an ability, right? So, uh, you cast one, boom, you have a chance to blind an enemy, and so on and so forth for the rest of the abilities, right? Now, the first ability, Shattered Lash, is Gara's Exalted Weapon, right? So basically, how it works is you tap the ability to throw shards of glass at an enemy, building the more enemies you hit, the more combo you gain, the more powerful it becomes, right? Consequently, you can hold and basically have this sweeping glass sword that will sweep in front of you horizontally, right? And it'll hit all enemies in its path. And this is my favorite part, it goes through walls, right? The Shattered Lash goes through walls, which is really cool. Now, it's got a drain of 25 energy, a range of 12 meters, damage of 400 puncture. The arcing damage, which is the horizontal slash, right, has 400 slash damage. And it's got a radius of about 1.75 meters. Now, the range is for the tap, right? So it's basically how far you can throw your little shards of glass. But the radius, right, that's for your arcing damage, right, where you sweep in front of you, right? So you can sweep about nearly 2 meters in front of you. It's kind of nice. Now, we can boost a lot of this, really. So we can reduce the cost with efficiency mods, much like Streamline, right? So, as you can see, that has reduced the cost of the ability, meaning we can basically cost it more for less, right? Which is always nice. Now, if you're having trouble getting a lot of the ability mods like intensify, stretch, or continuity, right? You can go to the Plains of Eidolon, and you can pick up a bounty with the rewards of the Augur mods, right? So, example. So, Augur Secrets is going to give you strength. Augur Message is going to give you duration. Augur Reach is going to give you range, right? So, if you're struggling to get any ability mods, go to the Plains of Eidolon, look for I think it's a tier 3 or tier 4 bounty that has the Augur mods as the reward, right? You can run that with randoms or run it by yourself. It's entirely up to you. But yeah, if you're struggling to get mods, like ability mods, pick up these ones until you can get your continuity, your intensify, and your stretch, right? Now, strength is going to increase the overall damage of the ability, right? Which is going to be nice. So, with 24% strength, we've already got like nearly a 100 damage increase, which is not bad. Now, obviously, duration doesn't really affect this because there's no duration aspect to the ability, but range, right? Range is going to increase the throw of the ability, right? So it increases how far you can throw it. Not bad. Alright, on to the next ability. Second ability, Splinter Storm. Okay, so this is basically Gara's damage reduction, right? You cast this, you gain 70% damage reduction for 20 seconds, right? But you cast this on an enemy, right? And they then get struck with a damage multiplier, right? Now, the cool thing about this ability is that it can be cast on inanimate allies, like defense targets, right? So, if you want your defense target to take less damage, take Gara and have her use Splinter Storm, which is pretty cool. So, it has a drain of 50 energy, a range of 30 meters, a radius of 2.5 meters, a damage per second, which is impact, puncture, and slash, 260, right? 22-second duration, damage reduction of 70%, and a damage multiplier of 1.35 times. Now, just like with the first ability, we can slap on efficiency to reduce the cost of the ability, dropping it down to 35 energy, right? We can also slap on some duration, right? So, Augur Message. Slap that on, and boom, the duration of the ability now lasts longer. Cool! Now, if you put on Strength, like Augur Secrets, right? That is going to increase the damage per second. It's also going to increase the damage reduction and the damage multiplier, right? So, it's definitely a good idea to throw on a bit of strength with Gara because of how her abilities work. Strength and range are kind of your best friend with Gara, I'll be honest. Speaking of range, right? We slap on a bit of range on Gara. Oops. Boom. The radius increases, and so does the range. So, the range is basically the range at which we can cast the ability, right? So, how far away an enemy is to us, or how far away an ally is to us. Now, the radius, right, The radius is for the glass shards, right? The more range you have, the higher the radius. The more radius you have, the further out the glass shards are, right? So, yeah, keep that in mind. Now, for the next ability, Spectrophage, right? So essentially, you cast this, and any enemies that are trapped inside, they will shoot at the mirrors because what they see is essentially reflections, right? They see them as enemies, and yeah, so you place this, and they shoot at the mirrors. The mirrors then damage them, right? Now, this has a drain, obviously, of 75 energy. Once again, we can reduce that with efficiency mods like Streamline. Boom. It just got dropped. Now, this does have a duration, right? It's got a duration of 22 seconds, right? Now, if you want this to last longer, slap that on. Boom. It now lasts for 27.28 seconds. Right? Now, I believe it can be affected by range. Yes, the more range you have, the more mirrors you have, right? So, more range, wider area, more mirrors, right? Now, much like most of Gara's abilities, it is affected by strength, right? So strength is going to make the area damage and the initial damage a lot more, right? So essentially what it does, right, is it reflects damage back, and then at the end of the ability it'll explode, dealing area damage, right? That's how that works. Now the final ability, Mass Vitrify. Essentially how it works is you cast a glass wall that expands outward. Any enemies hit by the glass wall get turned to glass, right? But any enemies outside the glass wall that try to shoot the wall, right? They're gonna hit the wall, but the bullets won't go through, or the projectiles won't go through, unless they break a segment of that wall. Now, speaking of breaking that wall, you can use your first ability, Shattered Lash, to shatter that wall, dealing explosion damage, right? Now, this does have a drain of 75 energy, right? So, if we want to reduce that, we can slap on efficiency mods, like Streamline, right? So that is going to reduce the initial drain and the drain over time, right? Now, the longer the ability is cast, the further out it goes, right? But in saying that, the longer it's active, the more energy it will drain, so keep that in mind, right? Now, we can also put on duration to reduce the cost over time as well, right? See? That is going to reduce the cost over time, it's going to increase the max radius, and it's going to increase the effect duration, right? So, essentially, the effect being enemies turn to glass. More duration means the longer they stay turn to glass, right? Now, strength affects this in a pretty cool way, right? So, more strength means more wall health and more damage multiplier, right? And it also means more explosion damage, right? So yeah, more strength means more wall health, more damage multiplier, and um more explosion damage, right? So I believe what happens is the more enemies that are inside the wall, the more damage it's going to do, right? So it basically uses the health and the shields of the enemies that are within the wall to increase the damage of the explosion. So yeah, bear that in mind. Okay, so you've got Gara or Gara Prime, depending, and you've got a build for her, but something's missing. Well, that is where augments come in, right? Augments allow us to change the way that certain abilities work, right? By applying specific mods. Now, the fact is that Gara only has 3 augments, so there's not really much we can do to her. But these 3 augments do actually quite a lot, right? Now, the first one, Mending Splinters, is basically a heal. So for every enemy under the effect of Splinter Storm, right? Every enemy that's under effect of Splinter Storm, you gain health per second. Now, this scales with strength, right? So, if you wanted to, you could pile on strength and it would give you more health back per second, right? Essentially giving you a consistent heal over time. Now, the next augment that Gara has, right, is Spectro Siphon. Now, this one is very heavily used a lot in support builds, right? It's also used as a subsume, I believe. It's an augment for Spectro Rage. Essentially, how it works is that every enemy that is killed inside of the mirrors, right? So every enemy that's killed inside of the mirrors has a 50% chance to drop an energy orb. Now, unfortunately, you cannot modify that percentage. It is fixed at 50%, right? But more enemies means more chances that you have of obtaining energy orbs. Now, the last one, and my decidedly favorite one, right, is called Shattered Storm. The way that this works is, it's a Shattered Lash augment, right? So essentially, while you have Splinter Storm active, and you have Mass Vitrify active as well, and you shatter Mass Vitrify's glass ring, every enemy that's hit that is not killed will be under the immediate effects of Splinter Storm, meaning they're all susceptible to the damage multiplier that Splinter Storm affords you, right? And, if memory serves, you cannot modify the damage increase of Shattered Lash, right? So it's fixed at 100%, but it's definitely a good augment.
These are worthy foes. Underestimate them at your peril.
sentry is attempting to purge you from this place. Stand by for life support. If they scan you, sentient fighters won't be far behind. The sentient has detected you. Fighters incoming. excellent place to get started. The longer you hold out, the deeper I can search. But if you need to leave, extraction is ready. These manifestations must not be allowed a foothold on Lua. Life support is at risk. Destroy them.
Lost in crowd.